Welcome to the Back to Brick Property Podcast. I'm your host, David Lamb. On this podcast, we'll be stripping property investors and business people alike back to brick to find out how their journey can help you on your journey.
This podcast is brought to you by Orange Sales and Lettings. If you know someone that is looking to sell or let a home, please get in touch. Referral fees are available. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to the Back to Brick Property Podcast, sponsored by Orange Sales and Lettings. I'm your host, David Lamb. Today, we're going back to brick with Ewan Dudding. He's a guy I've been trying to pin down for quite some time now. He's a very busy man, so I'll let him off. He's been busy accumulating over 25 million worth of property by the ripe old age of 28. He also runs a very successful financial services business, which ties in very nicely with his property journey, I'm sure. Welcome, Ewan.
Thank you, David. Pleasure to be here down in Darlington.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very grateful for you to come on, mate. I know how busy you are, so I do really appreciate it. And yeah, at least the sun's shining for you today, mate. I think that's 2 days this year up here. I think
absolutely, yeah. I've brought the sunshine with me.
You did, mate. Yes, so thank you for that. So straight to it, £25 million worth of property by the age of 28 is, I mean, it's an incredible feat. I think a lot of people will just assume when they hear that you've had a leg up, you've had a rich family, or you've married well, but I know that's not the case. So let's start with the beginning. Who is you and how did life begin?
Yeah, so definitely not born into money, unfortunately. I think that would have been great. But yeah, grew up in a small town called Lagilphead, so it's in the west coast of Scotland. So just a single mother kind of background brought me up. So kind of no car or anything growing up. You would walk everywhere, very small towns, you know. So it was awesome growing up.
Sounds like bliss, actually.
Yeah, it was a fantastic childhood. Quite limited in terms of what you might kind of experience and think, and some of the things you see now, you're like, it's a big world out there. But certainly, I enjoyed my childhood, so I can't complain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah, because it's such a young age you're at, and to achieve so much. I mean, it's when I was listening to your story on another podcast we were just chatting about there. It's just incredible what you've done. So I want to pick it apart today. Were you always entrepreneurial? Where did that come from? Where did your drive come from? I just imagine growing up in a small little town like you've just described.
Yep.
It sounds like quite a comfortable life. I imagine this really pretty place up in Scotland.
Yep.
So where was the drive to change that, I guess?
Yeah, great point. I suppose it's almost like Steve Jobs said, sometimes looking back you can join up the dots. At the time you didn't really think you were entrepreneurial, you're just a kid. I suppose some of my earliest memories actually was in summer holidays. I used to sit and say to my mum, I'm bored. Yeah. And she's like, you need to find something to do. And I used to always say, I'm bored.
I think I did actually, looking back, yeah.
And it's like one of my earliest memories, I just sit there and just moan saying, I'm bored. And then obviously you get a bit older, you get some more things to do. And I suppose that transpired into like sport. I was always just playing 3-4 different sports. So I was up from, into school at 9 and not getting home till 11 o'clock at night sometimes, doing 2 or 3 different sports. And I suppose once you get a little bit older, you obviously want a bit of money, you see your friends getting nicer stuff. And then I just started working. Yeah. And I suppose that kind of sparked it as well, where you were keeping busy, but you were also making money. Yeah. There was a few kind of other entrepreneurial things, like I used to buy and sell a lot of clothes. I used to do drop shipping, stuff from China. Yeah, before it was even a thing, I started buying some jackets and then realised I can get them for £20 and sell them for 100.
Brilliant.
So I was doing that, but really that's probably the main things. But probably once I got a bit older, it was the work and it was the earning money and probably keeping busy. Yeah, I think somebody needs to just have something going on, something to do. Yeah, all the time. No,
I get that. Is anyone in your family that was entrepreneurial? Is any influences? Parents or uncle, auntie, whatever?
No, not at all. My dad, he's a retired fireman. My brother went on to be a teacher. My mum's a nursery nurse, looked after kids. So yeah, literally nobody. And even growing up in Lagilphead, there's not really anyone necessarily entrepreneurial. Yeah. The only people, ironically, might have been, say, tradesmen and stuff like that, and maybe tradesmen that went into property to be developers. But at that stage, there's a reason I'm a finance broker. I'm really not that practical with my hands, so that was just a million miles away. But really growing up, it is a case of you might work at the local hospital or you might become a builder, but there's really not a lot of other things there, so you don't really see that. Yeah.
So where did your working career start then? What did you do after school?
So I went to university in Stirling, so that was really just to kind of get out of Lagilphead, do something. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Effectively, I got a business degree, but just worked 3 or 4 jobs alongside university. Right. So that allowed me to kind of save up money. I was always interested in property, but I didn't think I wanted to be full-time in property. So I bought my first couple of properties as a student, And I just thought, you know what, I don't want to be full time. I want some sort of career, something to do alongside it. I was really interested in finance, so I ended up training to become a financial advisor effectively.
Right, okay.
So I'd done all my diploma in regulated financial planning. I was one of the youngest people in Scotland to do that, and I got a job at a really good firm after. But basically with that firm, you kind of go through being administrator and then a glorified administrator before you become an advisor. It's like a 5 or 6 year period.
I can imagine, yeah.
And during that point, I think I bought about 20 flats. And like the salary wasn't that great, obviously, because you're basically an administrator. So I had about 20 flats and I was maybe making like 24 grand a year. So at that point, I kind of decided to leave, and my kind of heart wasn't really in it. But I suppose that at that point I was always interested in finance, enjoyed the mortgage side of property. I actually had all my mortgage exams from doing it. I just did loads of exams. That was another thing I started doing at some point. So my previous work paid for all that. So effectively became self-employed as a mortgage broker about 3 or 4 years ago now.
Right. Quite a bit to pick apart there. So you were working and you never saw property at that stage as a full-time play. But you still went ahead and bought a couple of properties. So why? What?
Yeah, good question. So I think I was always been asking my mum. So in terms of our childhood, we grew up with not much money at all, but she did a phenomenal job. So it wasn't that I had a terrible childhood and I want my kids to have a better childhood. I kind of looked to her thinking, fuck, I don't want to be in her position. No offense. Do you know what I mean? Because effectively she's working all the hours. She's giving us everything she can, but there's really not much else. You've not been in a plane for 20 years. You can't really do things, and you can't go see your friends because you've not got money because you're feeding your kids and stuff like that. So I just kind of didn't want to be in that position. So I thought, right, I just need to conserve. So any money I got, I just cannot spend it. So I didn't really know what that was for. So I used to kind of save into a fixed period account, a fixed notice account, so you couldn't actually withdraw the money. So if I got paid 2.5 grand, I would just fire that straight into a bank account. I actually couldn't access the money. Right. So then suddenly I was back to zero. And that was as a student, and I was working like 3 jobs. So I was actually making okay money. And then I maybe be like borrowing with my brother to make rent and stuff like that. So effectively I was saving. I didn't know what I was saving for. And then obviously property was like the obvious one in my head. And I suppose as soon as I learned that you can buy a property and then pull your money back out, do you know what I mean? Because effectively I was looking for the best investment vehicle. I thought, well, wait a minute, if all my money's out, it almost doesn't matter in terms of the nitty gritty of what is the specific return versus equities or versus something else. And so at that stage I bought the first property, you know. Ended up living in that, rented out 2 of my bedrooms.
Right.
And then it became a bit of a famous story from podcast. My missus came in and rented half my bed as well.
How did that work?
Yeah, so I mean, effectively had 2 bedrooms out. She was, it's like we were a student. She was kind of staying with me anyway. And then I think COVID kicked off at the time, so our rent was like £600 including bills. So she kind of just moved in with me formally, and then started paying £200 a month.
Brilliant.
You know, so she actually made a decent saving.
Yeah. But she's still renting half a bed.
We're still together. You know what I mean? So she's we're still together. So it's worked out all well. But that was obviously quite a funny story. But I mean, from a cash flow point of view, it made a huge difference, right? Because you basically went from paying mad rent as a student. And then back then interest rates were dirt cheap. So I think my rent went from like £600-700 including bills to then having £190 mortgage. But then I had 2 people paying £500 plus somebody paying £200.
Superb.
You know, so that kind of got me into it. So I could see it could work. Obviously, I listened to podcasts, and I could see in practical terms there's demand. You know, because every time, again, coming from that background where you're quite fearful, you're quite conservative. Anytime I put the flat up for rent on Facebook, you're thinking, oh, nobody's going to turn up. Always hundreds of people. And even during COVID, you're like, oh my God, no one's going to turn up. And then hundreds of people still. So that kind of really built in. That's the way to go. Yeah.
That's a pretty interesting story. That's it. Because sometimes people come on the show and they're like, oh yeah, my uncle was entrepreneurial. And I looked at him in his flash cars and I saw how ambitious he was and I wanted to be that. From yours, it's you looked at your mum and saw how hard she was working and the lack of free time she had. And so that it's the other side of the coin, I guess. But that's still just as inspiring for you. And I think that sounds like it's given you, it showed you the value of money. So you started putting money away. Like you just openly said there, you didn't really have a target for the money, but you saw the value of it and you wanted to keep as much as you could. So then where were those first 2 properties that you bought and how did you find them? How did you finance them?
Yeah. So the first one I bought, basically, it's a university town, right? So I knew where students wanted to live.
In Stirling?
In Stirling, in Headington. Like, so you wanted to be as close to the bus stop as possible. So it was right by the bus stop to university, basically. It's quite funny. I think it must have been January or February. I agreed. It was certainly winter, and I was on a night out previously. Showed up to the viewing. The woman says, like, yeah, I think she was kind of almost on her way out in terms of being an estate agent. She's like, yeah, I think they'll accept this. So putting an offer on it, I looked at it and thought, kitchen, bathroom, carpets, paint, £6,000, that'll do it.
Really?
Well, that's in my head, right? And even asked another local investor, and I'm like, oh yeah, maybe like kitchen, bathroom, paint, decorate. I'd never even heard of the word plaster. Like that was just like, never even heard of the word. Yeah. But it was laughing plaster, so the whole every single wall came down.
Oh, God.
But anyways, in terms of financing, so I managed to get that in a residential mortgage. The reason being I was working so much that I actually had an income. You know, so there wasn't really any other way.
You had 3 part-time jobs. So.
Yeah, three part-time jobs. One of them was 0-hour contracts, but I was working so much I was clearing 20 grand a year for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So I was actually earning more than my mum as a student just off that one. But I had two other jobs as well. But basically I managed to get a mortgage with NatWest based on those. So I didn't even mention the fact I was a student. I just said, look, I'm a cleaner. This is all my stuff. Yeah. And then it went through, you know. So I put a decent deposit down because I had savings. Yeah. And then obviously got into it and then kind of refurbed it. That was obviously it was a lot more expensive than expected, you know.
What did you end up spending on that?
I think it was about 13 grand, but I mean really it was probably about an 18 grand refurb. But yeah, I had nothing, you know. So my dad helped me a bit. And then I was like credit cards and then personal loans towards the end. Yeah. But then obviously once it was rented out, the extra income was able to pay off the debt. And that's, I suppose that kind of started what I've kind of continued to do and still do to today. You know.
So you moved in that then, you renovated it and you moved in it.
Exactly.
And then did you buy another one while you were living in that one?
Yeah, so I bought another one with my brother while I was living in that, but just the usual, bought it, kind of did a refurb, tried to be as cheap as possible. But at that point the kind of money ran out, right? Yeah. So at that point you're kind of learning all this stuff and you listen to podcasts and that, but I basically just decided to like stick to what I was doing and just keep working and save up money. Yeah.
Did you refinance those properties?
Yeah, so a year later, the one I was in, I refinanced that. The value came back maybe 40, 50 grand higher. So it was all money out at the time. I just paid the exit fee. By that point I had a full-time job, so the mortgage was a bit easier.
Brilliant.
Got the money out. The other one was a bit longer term because we kind of just took ages with the refurb and kind of tarting up and stuff like that, you know.
Brilliant. Yeah. So you just learn as you go along, basically, which is what I did. I did some terrible refurbs back in the day, and I look back at them now and laugh. One of them, the first house I bought, I spent 4 grand on it and made 26 grand profit just because of the market, nothing to do with me. Yeah. And I had an old boiler in. It was about 40-year-old. And it needed changing out, so I decided I'd just paint it with white hammerite to make it look newer. Yep. And it did the job. So obviously you wouldn't dream of doing things like that now.
Oh, it's tough. I mean, especially I'm like the least practical. I mean, my missus builds the IKEA furniture. Like genuinely useless. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't. My brother and my dad are more handy, but I don't know what's happened to me. But honestly, useless. But I just thought, do you know what? If I can paint. I mean, to quote a painter, it's like if you can piss, you can paint.
I know,
so I was like, if I can just paint, it saves what £1,500. I can get everyone else in. But I mean, the first kind of obviously we'll go on to that, but the first 20 or 30 of doing stuff like that, and it was rough, you know.
You have to, don't you? You can't afford to pay people. So
you have to. Yeah.
And do you know what? I don't do it. Obviously, don't do any of that nowadays, but. I miss those days sometimes. I don't know whether you do, like just getting stuck in, ripping the houses up. I'm the same as you. I'm useless with my hands. Yep. Anything I attempted, I ended up paying somebody double to put it right for me. So I learned my lesson very quickly. Yeah. But like the ripping out and the sweeping up and the painting, you know, I kind of miss those days. It was fun. Yeah,
it was. Sometimes I miss it, maybe ripping out and stuff like that. But sometimes, I was painting out of necessity. You know, and I look back, I was like, God, I would not be wanting to paint out of necessity. Not there's anything wrong with that. No. But it's just, do you know what I mean? It was just doing all sorts. I think probably at the time you're still working the 3 jobs and doing that. Yeah. So it was quite
and
extreme.
Studying.
Oh, I think I probably aged like 3-4 years, and I even remember seeing my face, like the eyes and stuff like that. It was quite bad.
Sleeping. Yeah. So where did you go from there? Then you got these 2 properties. Great start. How old are you at this point?
I was 21.
Yeah. Okay. So you're flying. So where from there?
Yeah. So from there, I kind of thought I'd be a millionaire overnight, and then kind of realised that it didn't quite work out like that. Yeah. So I thought, right, I've managed to kind of do this so far, so I'll try to repeat the process. Kind of, fortunately for me, COVID kicked off at that point. Mm-hmm. So basically, what that meant is you couldn't really spend any money, right? You know, because everything was shut down, and I was like, there's nothing else to do, so you may as well work. Yeah. The hospital job I had, they only used to maybe have you on 2 or 3 weekends a month because they didn't want to pay you too much money. Right. But after that, like people thought they were going to die of COVID, whereas I was quite confident that I wouldn't die, so I was happy to work every weekend. Brilliant. So I was able to work my full-time job, and you actually had a bit more time because you're working from home. Yeah. In terms of like you're not traveling the hour and a half. Do you know what I mean? You're at home, so I could go away at weekends and work. Yeah. So that really kind of accelerated it. So I was probably clearing like 2, 3, 4 grand a month sometimes during that period. I was also delivering pizzas in the evening as well. And
did you sleep with all that?
Not really, nah. Yeah, not really. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I did it. It was pretty rough. But I mean, you do it in necessity, right?
Of course you do, yeah.
You're kind of you don't really want to be doing that kind of stuff, and that's why you do it, to then get to a place where you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
But then what I didn't realise at the time is, because you're doing that, you're building skills, you're building knowledge, you're able to buy deals. All that knowledge compounds. So I suppose at that point I got to the stage where I had about maybe £80,000. So I always thought, ironic, I was kind of a wee bit scared of bridging, and I kind of understood that I need to buy something, I need to get my money out straight away. So I really understood the process. I just thought, well, I need to save up enough cash.
How did you understand that bridging process at the time?
Just from speaking to people.
Right. Okay.
To be honest, yeah, just
you
from.
weren't working in financial services or anything.
No, I wasn't working in financial services, but I probably had a natural kind of draw to that.
Yeah.
And I suppose it was really just from speaking to other investors, seeing how they were doing it, and seeing who was doing it properly. And even now, still mortgage brokers say you can't do day one remortgages.
Yeah, I know.
But bear in mind, this was like 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
But I kind of knew some people that were doing it. You go in company's house, you see what lenders they're using, you start speaking to them, and you kind of knew how they were doing it.
Yeah.
Basically, what I kind of ascertained is, like, you don't really want to be buying a mortgage and breaking the mortgage.
No.
So I felt it's clean. I just need to get to the position I've got enough cash, then flinging a mortgage straight away. And then maybe if I can do 4 of them a year, and then in the meantime I might leave 10 or 15 grand in a deal, but because I'm working like a maniac, I can make that up.
Exactly.
And that was basically the business plan, and look, it worked. I started buying. I think the first year I maybe bought about 5, and then I started bringing on investor money as well, which obviously helped.
Were you going to network events at this point?
Yeah, so I think initially I went to a lot of networking events. That's maybe even earlier, and I think at that point I maybe wasn't so much. I was just working. To be honest, I maybe do the odd curry night. I maybe go to the odd networking event, but I wasn't doing a lot. Always listening to podcasts though.
Yeah. There's so much. You see people spending 25 grand on a course, don't you? And then I haven't spent a penny on training. I just learned from books and podcasts. It's pennies really. There's so much free information out there.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And not to say there's anything wrong with kind of going on courses, depending on obviously what the course
some people
is.
have done really well out of them.
Yeah, but I think even now, if it's purely knowledge, even ChatGPT.
Yeah,
so obviously it's not fully accurate on a lot of stuff, but some of the stuff is superb.
It's a good guide, isn't it? Yeah, at least.
This podcast is brought to you by Orange Sales and Lettings. If you know someone that is looking to sell or let a home, please get in touch. Referral fees are available. Terms and conditions apply.
You were very aware, it sounds like, whether you knew it or not, you were very much in the delayed gratification stage. You saw the value of putting the graft in, working 3 jobs, studying, and and then doing your houses as well. So is that something that you had to learn, or was that something that's just ingrained in you? Do you think?
Question. I do like waiting for things.
Yeah.
So it's quite funny. My missus is total opposite. So if you want to go on holiday, she'll go next week. Whereas I prefer going 7 months and just look forward to it.
Yeah. I'm like that. Yeah.
I don't know how much of that's natural, but what I do remember is obviously growing up, you didn't have a lot. So if you wanted something, you couldn't just get it, obviously. But at Christmas and birthdays, you always got what you wanted. Yeah. So you always had this amazing Christmas and birthday.
You wishing your life away until Christmas.
Pretty much, yeah. Because my birthday's the 30th of April, so you'd have that 6 months thing, and I enjoyed that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I still play that game now, even kind of manufacture it myself. Like if I get there, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So I think I enjoy it. I still enjoy it to today, to be honest.
Right,
yeah.
Okay. So when you put your foot down there and you said you bought another 5, and you would you were how you were sourcing these deals? Were you using sources, or were you just in your local market?
Yeah, everything myself. Been in the local market, yeah. So just lots of viewings, looking on Rightmove. And just being kind of opportunistic. If something comes up, just try to be really fast to come out and get it. Probably what I struggled with initially was being too conservative. Yeah, as you do, because I found that I was just kept getting beat everything. But then what I would do after is I would go into sold prices and then just see exactly what people bought at. Yeah. And then even after, some people were flipping stuff. Yeah. And I see what it sold at then. And I was thinking, like, I'm being a little bit too conservative
with your offers. You
with
mean
the end value? Yeah.
Oh, with the end value. All right. Okay.
Yeah. At that stage, so I had probably about a year period where you're just struggling to kind of get anything. And I suppose it's like anything. Once you get 1 or 2, you just get into that habit.
Yeah. Okay. And then you touched on very briefly. You touched on private finance. So how were you introduced to that? How did you even know about it?
I suppose it must have been just from like podcasts and stuff like that. Or speaking to people. So I was aware. I kind of knew roughly how it worked. What I did know is I didn't really want the pressure, even at that stage. I didn't want the pressure of I need to pay someone back in 6 months. Yeah. Especially when you've not got a great income, you've not got a lot of assets. So what I managed to do initially was raise money for like 3 to 5 year periods, which was obviously huge.
So that's long. I haven't heard of anyone lending for that long.
Yeah, so and again, that just came out of the fear thing. I was like, I know I can make this work over 3 years, but do you know what I mean? If I'm refinancing, you need to pay back in 4 months.
Yeah.
What happens if I get a down value? What happens if something goes wrong?
Yeah, everything's slow in property, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So the first few investors managed to get a 3 or 5 year period. The first ever one, he wasn't necessarily a friend from uni, but we kind of knew each other from unis, from mutual friends. But he was somewhat interested in the property thing, but maybe not interested enough to go and do it himself.
Yeah.
But maybe interested enough to back me.
Yeah, okay.
So that kind of got me started. So I was able to kind of use his money.
Did he approach you then, or did you approach him?
He approached me, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So that makes the conversation obviously a lot easier, because I think a lot of new investors, they find approaching someone sort of going cap in hand and saying, can you lend me some money? I think that's, especially for me from the northeast, we were always taught don't ever owe anyone money type of thing. So to then do that, it's a difficult conversation. But if they're approaching you, that must have made it a lot easier for you.
Yeah, no, for sure it did. I think they approached me initially looking to JV, but even at that stage, I kind of knew. I was like, look, we're only talking about £80,000. You know, we're going to have like 3 or 4 flats together, and then we're going to be married together forever. Yeah. So what I suggested to him is like, look, why don't we loan to me for a couple of years, and after that, I could just build your portfolio for free.
Brilliant.
But at that stage, a couple of years past, he's like, look, just keep the money. Yeah. You know, so
well, it's win-win, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a win-win. And look, it's not to say that other people you maybe asked. I mean, certainly I was always on at friends because it's comfortable. You know, maybe friends that had 5 or 10 grand when you're just like, I just need money for the refurb. Yeah. You know, and that was more. Obviously, they'll make a return and do well at it, but really, they were just helping me out. Yeah.
It's funny listening to you because you're so young. At 28. You know, when I first started in property, I literally used to sit. There was no social media. I know I'm showing my age here, but there was no internet really. So I was sat in a library reading property books, like 3 or 4 books. So, whereas you're listening to podcasts, you know, in your early 20s, and you're hearing about people lending angel finance and stuff like that. It's a different world.
Yes.
And sure. I often wonder where I'd be if that had been the case, because the information was sparse when I first started. I mean, people didn't invest in property, especially from the northeast. You're like, you've got a house, you live in one, you don't need another house. Do you know what I mean? Type of thing. So
for sure. And I mean, and I suppose our generation's quite fortunate.
Yeah.
You know, that we've got that. I mean, I was really early in podcasts. My mate's a journalist. Right. He was listening to football podcasts like 2015. Yeah. So I used to listen to that all the time, and I just like having something in the background.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, some noise.
Conversations, noise. But then after that, I was like, wait a minute, I know everything about Scottish football, but maybe I should actually get something productive here. Yeah. And that's kind of what started it. But again, you still need to implement it.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, you just said you're very fortunate, which I agree in one respect, that you've got all this information. But I think because of that, it's a lot easier to get carried away and just make stupid mistakes 100%. because so and so on a podcast has done it. 100%. So there's pros and cons to it, I think.
I totally agree. And we say it, I think there's a saying that a little bit of knowledge can be quite dangerous. Yeah. And we see it in the finance brokerage every day.
I bet you do.
You know, someone trying to tell us how to do a mortgage and they've got one buy to let. You know, and it's like, you even if you kind of thought that, you'd think you'd have a little bit of kind of self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I think, again, people hear these things and they see these things on podcasts and they think they really know. Yeah. And it's like, you don't.
It's mental.
We get it all the time. Oh, it wasn't as slow that last time. I was like, all right, well, we're doing 30 a day. Yeah. You've done one in your lifetime.
Exactly. Yeah, you're telling us how to do it.
You know. Yeah. And I don't think, maybe I would have been, but I just don't think I would have been that arrogant. But again, it's natural, innit? Because when you do learn these things, you do kind of think you know it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially if you've had a little bit of success. Yeah. So at what point, Ewan, did you think this could be, you know, it went from being a sideline by the sounds of it to what point did you think this could be, you know, my main source of income could be property here?
It's funny enough, I never really thought it would be the main source, because I suppose when I got to the point that it almost was, i.e. I kind of left my second job, I left my third job, kept my main job. And
because of your rental income? Because
of the rental income, and I just kind of get tired. I just kind of, do you know what I mean? I'd almost, in my mind had given up before my body. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I was like showing up, but I was like, I was a million miles away. I was like, nah. Yeah, I need to stop this, you know. Yeah.
But it served a great purpose, didn't
100%, it? 100%. Yeah, for sure. And even to this day, you're like, well, even if things get tough or you're a bit frustrated, then you're like, well, God, look what I used to do for a living. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you get a wee bit of kind of perspective. But I suppose I've probably got to the point where the portfolio's maybe netting me, I don't know, 4 or 5 grand a month. At that point, my main job was maybe about 1,800, 2 grand a month. Yeah. So at that point, I was almost like, oh shit, there's no point kind of having this either, but I do need something else to do. Yeah. You know,
it's interesting because you said 4 or 5 grand a month. You said that. I mean, that's what most people aim for when they start in property. Is the dream is to have your bills covered, isn't it? Have that 3, 4, 5 grand a month to come in to cover your bills. Yep. So you got to that, and you didn't didn't get complacent, you didn't get comfortable, you said, right, let's kick on.
Yeah. And I think that's, I suppose, because everyone has like a target, and growing up, my real target was that position, like 4 or 5 grand a month.
I think everyone's is,
Everything's covered. I can live off 2. I've got an extra 2 I can save.
Yeah.
So from that point, you're almost like, you're kind of doing what you want,
Yeah.
which is probably what I always wanted to be. But I suppose at that point, at the flip side, I kind of thought, oh my God, I need something to do. But I'm going to be incredibly bored.
Yeah.
And I've just I've been at a stage where I've been something going on every single day.
Yeah.
For as long as I've been conscious,
Yeah.
I need something else to do, you know. So I was looking at kind of something within property. Obviously, I was really interested in the property stuff. That's what I wanted to do. So it was, what I mean, you can think it probably came down to maybe some sort of letting agency, sourcing, or potentially a finance business. I suppose it was always the mortgage side that I was kind of interested in. That's probably what I had a natural understanding of. So that's kind of the reason why I went into that.
Yeah. Do you love the property, actually doing the properties, finding the properties, renovating the properties, or do you like the fact that property is just a vehicle to provide you the wealth?
Yeah.
Is it the game? Is it the doing the deals, or is it the actual physical? Because I love property for property.
Yeah.
Bit of a sado, to be honest.
Yeah.
But what's
It's a bit of both, to be honest.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing the deal.
Yeah.
I mean, the most exciting part is when you get something agreed.
100%.
I mean, before, we're slightly complacent now because you've got so much, but before it was almost once I got the keys, I'd forget about it almost.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like as soon as I've agreed it, I've forgotten about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, where's the next? You know, it's just almost like you're trying to get a hit.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
100%.
So I enjoy doing the deal aspect, and I suppose I enjoy kind of accumulating assets and seeing the portfolio grow. I don't really enjoy kind of being on site or anything like that. Really don't. But what I do enjoy, probably that you maybe just mentioned, I do enjoy just driving about and looking at them. You know, 'cause I do think it's like, I don't know, it's real assets, isn't it? And you can see them, you can touch them, you can feel them, and I do like that aspect.
Yeah, okay.
100%.
So you're scaling up. Are you still living in this original first house at this time when you start scaling up, or have you moved?
Yeah, so I it's all at the same time. I quit my third job, I quit my second job, I quit my main job, and I bought a house for me and the missus. But when I say I bought a house, I bought a 100 grand 1-bedroom flat.
Did you?
Yeah, so it was like,
Where was that?
It was a street up, but it was a nicer street,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, so we were buzzing. I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
We even to this day we kind of miss it because we ended up moving a few times after.
Yeah.
So yeah, literally, I mean, I had 20 properties, and I was renting out my bedrooms, and I was renting my bed to my missus.
Yeah.
And even at one point there, I was still working the 3 jobs and that. But kind of between October and Christmas, they all kind of disappeared.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So 20 properties, and then what? Then what happened?
Yeah, then I basically set up to become a self-employed mortgage broker.
Right.
Yeah.
Why? And where did that come from?
So again, it was just the insight. I seen it as a merge between what I was doing previously in property. I mean, I was always interested in the finance stuff. I was like day one remortgages, pulling your money out. I was fascinated by that.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause I knew a guy doing it, and everyone else said you couldn't do it. Even to this day,
Yeah.
you see big educated companies and all that saying, "Oh, you can do it now.
100%.
but
Yeah.
You couldn't do that 5 years ago."
Yeah.
Well, you could.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. I just enjoyed that aspect. But obviously, as a day job, I mean, I was submitting pension applications. Do you know what I mean? So we were getting pension applications in, we were submitting that, you're writing reports, so it's a very similar role.
Oh, right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? It's incredibly similar actually. So it just felt like the obvious thing.
Yeah, okay.
So effectively, I basically started that, and then obviously quickly grew my client base. And you obviously, because you had that knowledge of property, you had the knowledge of finance.
Yeah.
You can add a lot of
Perfect
value.
mix, isn't it?
Yeah. So
So did that business hit the ground running straight away? Did you get a lot of clients?
I'd say so. Yeah. To be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
And did that put a rocket up the property portfolio type of thing?
Yeah.
Was that what fueled it mainly?
It wasn't not straight away, because with the nature of mortgages, it takes 3, 4, 5, 6 months to actually get paid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think straight away you're almost getting clients, and it was like, right, okay, this is going to work, and I'm quite good at it, enjoy
that
it.
pipeline, yeah.
Yeah. But certainly, probably from maybe a year in, that obviously helped massively, because then you've got a trading business.
Yeah.
You know, and periodically I was always sourcing deals. So I was also making a decent 5-figure sum a year, maybe 20, 30, 40 grand a year.
Right.
Sourcing deals just when I was kind of getting stuff, you know, not loads,
Yeah.
but still just little bits I wasn't buying. But then, yeah, probably maybe a year, 18 months, I was able to use obviously any profits from the mortgage business as an intercompany loan.
Brilliant.
And that was able to help the buying.
When you were sourcing, how were you finding it? At that stage, you must have had agents bringing your deals before they went to the market.
Yeah, so I was very focused with any area I was buying in. I was buying in the local town within plus 10 or 20 minutes. What I quickly realised was it's harder to buy in the local town, but I was netting 500 a month. So I was like, even though I'm leaving more money in, I would rather net 500 pound a month for 50 years rather than, tying up an extra $5,000 and net 250.
Yeah.
You know, so I was a little bit out, and then I just really focused, and that's when I focused. Originally, I thought there's no deals here, as you do. And I remember thinking, right, it's a town of what, 50,000 people. All right, there's fuck all on Rightmove. There must be no deals. And even if you check today, right, if you go on Rightmove and type in Stirling, there's fuck all there, but I've got 16 legals.
Right.
So it just shows you.
So a lot of the stuff sold away from the portals then.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I mean, right now everything's sold off the portals.
Yeah, to you.
Pretty much. Yeah. Like to be frank, but at the time it maybe wasn't like that. But there was still little things that would creep up, or maybe just get it before it came on.
Right. Okay.
So effectively, yeah, you really got to know my market, really got to know my numbers, and then I was just kind of picking off little flats, and they were always performing well.
Yeah.
And yeah, they would just come from agents. Yeah.
Is that still the case then? You still buy in a very. I know you buy in England as well, don't you?
No, just Scotland. Yeah,
right,
so the finance business is all over the UK.
Yeah, okay.
But the buying, I just keep to Scotland. So I kept buying in Stirling until maybe last year. So just really kept that focus effectively. But then I've started buying blocks of flats in Glasgow.
Right, that's right. I knew that.
Yeah, so I didn't want to. Obviously, Glasgow's much bigger. What I replicated in Stirling was really, I mean, it's 5 years of just knowing everyone, everything, buying all the time. I didn't really want to replicate that again because it's time consuming, and I'm obviously busy with other businesses now. But effectively, what I thought is that, like, I can buy blocks of flats. They're easier to underwrite because everything's in one building. Yeah. And it's just a wee bit slicker. Yeah. So I started buying blocks of flats in Glasgow last year, but still doing portfolios, blocks and singles in Stirling.
Right, okay. How did you find that transition then from being solely focused on Stirling, having all those contacts, all those agents, you know, you knew the streets like the back of your hands, you're basically controlling the city or the town. Yeah. So how did you find that transition going to somewhere? I'm sure you knew Glasgow, but you know, your contacts weren't there.
It's the contacts. So one big thing's the build teams. My build team's based in Glasgow, so that's a dream.
Right,
so there's no issues there. But then probably what's more important is agents. What's also more important is like surveyors and stuff like that as well. And there's been even making mistakes, you know. So and still, and you're always chopping up the flats, creating extra rooms because you're getting a huge premium per room from the students. But for example, I bought a block of flats in Glasgow on the south side, but they're big, huge flats. But really, they're probably for like, it would have been really great for like young professionals and stuff like that. But I've chopped some of them up, and it's kind of put people off because I've also not furnished them.
Right, okay.
You know, so you just make some wee mistakes. It's just, they're minor mistakes. We think I maybe shouldn't have done it that way. Yeah. And I suppose the other thing is surveyors. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm friends with a lot of the surveyors in Stirling. You've known these guys for years, and you can just pick up the phone a little bit easier, effectively. That transition's been, I mean, it's been easier with the finance business because I've got lots of active clients, and like I mean a lot of kind of guys that buy a lot of property in Scotland, they will use me for finance. So you get introductions from them, so that's allowed me to kind of speak to surveyors, get the cut of their jib, basically kind of interview them to make sure I'm kind of going with the right lender to get the right surveyor. But you've not got that 5-year relationship. I
was going to say surveyors, I never really thought about that, but surveyors are critical. The volume and the speed that you're moving,
it's the most important thing.
Like, it could literally be make or break, couldn't it? I mean, it could be at any deal, but you can't afford for that to
for sure. And that's why I don't buy, like, there's some other areas in Scotland you can buy cheap, get good deals, but you're getting hit with down values at the back end. You know what I mean? In the mortgage business, sometimes we're submitting 3, 4, 5 applications, and that just would not work for me. I wouldn't have a business if I had to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've never had a down value. If you do get one, it's very, very slight, so it doesn't really kill the deal. But then, more importantly, you've always got an array of deals coming up. Do you know what I mean? So if you have one big down value, especially a big building, you're kind of fucked. You know, and that's why I'm spending time to speak to these guys. I mean, I'm phoning them, I'm getting a cut of their jib. You're almost interviewing them just to see where they're at. Down, you know, and I'm like, and obviously I'm frank. I'm just saying, like, I don't want to go pay thousands of pounds for survey fees and all that if we're just way off the mark. And that's good. Critical.
Yeah, if you can get that peace of mind before you go ahead with the deal, then. So how are you finding these blocks in Glasgow then? I don't know all your secrets, but are agents now bring them to you, or is it?
Yeah, I think, I mean, not necessarily estate agents, because it's probably one thing I've not necessarily got in Glasgow, but that I do have in Stirling. You're friends with all the estate agents in Stirling. Glasgow, not so much, because I've not done a lot there, but again, most of them so far have come from clients and other sourcers, I would say.
Right, okay.
You know, so that's been quite lucrative and quite helpful. You know, so if clients are active there, they might not have the money, or it might not suit them at that specific time. So I could obviously pay them a sourcing fee and then buy the deal. And there's a couple other blocks come from another sourcer as well.
So for your finance business, you know, the fact that your prospective clients look at you and see what you're doing in property, it must give them a lot of peace of mind to say, you know, this guy, he's not just a finance guy, he's actually a property guy as well. He knows what he's talking about.
For sure, yeah.
You must get a lot of business through that.
Yeah, and you can see things. It's just, again, it comes back to the kind of repetition, the reps. You just see so much, you learn so much, and you're able to add a lot more value because of that. And it's not just me; it's my team as well. Because my team are seeing everything I'm doing. They're learning as well, and then not only that as well, that attracts kind of clients that are doing volume. I mean, we've got at least half a dozen clients that buy 60, 70 units a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So like my team are experiencing that. They're speaking to these people all the time. So if you're if you were just say a self-employed broker and you're dealing with a couple of guys buying 1 or 2 flats a year versus one of my team is dealing with the guys buying 70 a year, they're just learning so much. So it's almost like that kind of thing that comes from osmosis.
Yeah.
And obviously the bigger the deals I've done as well, the more value you can add because you're almost seeing stuff that you've maybe not seen elsewhere. I mean, even on the phone call there, the underwriter at Shawbrook phoned me. Never had this before, but he's wanting to come meet me on site and view the building.
Really?
Never had that. But it must be over it's a £6 or £7 million building, so it must be over a certain parameter.
Something to do with their insurance.
Yeah. So you're always learning, and you're able to add value in terms of deal structure and stuff like that as well. A lot of time people are just structuring deals incorrectly going into deals.
Yeah.
You know,
These guys that you said that your clients are buying 60, 70 properties a year now, were they previously, or are they just doing that on the back of working with you type of thing?
great question. Well, I'm not going to take credit for what they're doing. I mean, ultimately, I'm the mortgage broker, so I'm submitting their finance. But it's a mixture. So I've had a few guys that have been doing this for years, like really large investors that have, ended up using me. One will have about 150 different mortgage applications right this second at different stages. I mean, some of these guys have been for 20, 30 years. Other people, like, for example, Christopher Dale, our mutual friend, he's obviously had a few buy-to-lets, but then really scaled since he started working with me. Yeah. And that's obviously been a relationship where you can add value. And someone like him, you don't even need to say much. You maybe suggest something once and he goes and does it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to take any credit for that. But again, there's probably a bunch of stuff I've learned. So at that stage when we got in touch, I maybe had like 50, 60 units. And you're able to obviously add extra value, you know? Yeah.
So how easy are these blocks and portfolios? Because it seems to be, and Chris is very focused on the blocks and portfolios now. Yeah. How easy are they to find?
I would say if you're just Joe Blogs, they're probably quite difficult. I suppose the difference with me is it's kind of what I buy, and I've been buying portfolios and blocks since 2022. Yeah, I bought the first one in 2022.
It's slow if you're not, isn't it?
Flipped it in 2024, and then since 2024, I've been buying them consistently, and it's what I ask. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm speaking to someone, if I'm speaking to a client, for example, I'm like, I'll tell them all the time, if you see any of this, let me know.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? If you see a block of flats, if you see a portfolio, let me know, because potentially they're making a decent sourcing fee, and it'll probably pay for 3 years worth of mortgages in reality. So, so I think probably always asking, but then always actually buying and transacting as well. You know, because if you can actually get a deal done, people come back to you. Yeah. Simple as that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I said to you earlier, a lot of my deals I pass to Chris because I'm busy with the mortgages, but I don't pass it to Chris because I like Chris. I pass it to Chris because he gets shit done and he gets it sold.
He definitely gets stuff done.
You get stuff sold. So it really just does come from transacting. But there's probably there's other people as well, but people that are regularly kind of sourcing these deals, selling these deals, they're probably the ones to speak to because they will get more opportunities from, be it off market from estate agents or surveyors or stuff. You know?
Yeah, they see him as a guaranteed quick option, isn't it? Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So what type of people are selling these blocks? Is it institutions selling them off, or is it just in general? Is it?
Yeah, so I suppose from clients' perspective, the ones that we finance, obviously we've financed way more than we've bought, obviously. Yeah. There's been a few institutions, but it's mostly just older landlords selling up.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I
assumed it was, but
yeah, sometimes not even that motivated. Sometimes just because they're in their 60s and 70s and they're ready to get shot. Yeah. Traders as well can be good, but then ultimately traders have bought off someone in a similar position, maybe a bit more motivated. They've bought incredibly cheap and then sold it on for a profit. So that seems to be the main one. But I mean, again, I think the average age of a landlord is 60. I'm sure I read somewhere. These guys, they're not getting any younger. No. And again, we're speaking about kind of your business, like lettings compliance, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean,
it's all changed.
It's almost like the doors are closing in.
It is, yeah.
And don't get us wrong, the market's still strong. They can go off and sell them individually, but some people prefer it's a pain in the arse.
Yeah. And that's obviously you're getting tremendous discounts on these deals because I see them come through from Chris and everything. But it is just, I guess that's how you're getting them, because you're an easy option. You're guaranteed
for sure. And by the way, some of them aren't like hugely discounted as well. Do you know what I mean? You almost not take the rough with the smooth, because sometimes you got a better property. Right. But there'll be a lot of stuff there that I buy with a portfolio that's maybe 10% discount. You know, but then you're able to add value through the refurb. You're able to maybe add bedrooms. You're also saving the 8% tax in Scotland. You know, so there's ones like that where it's actually a result for the landlord.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's only...
So it's 8% in Scotland?
tax, yeah. So in England you're 5.
Yeah.
Scotland you're 8.
Right.
Well,
we get the non-residential relief if you buy 6 or more.
Yeah. In Scotland it's multiple dwellings relief, but effectively what it does is it reduces the 8 down to less than 1%.
Oh wow.
Which is, I mean, it's huge, isn't it?
Brilliant.
You know, and then don't get us wrong, there's other ones that are incredibly discounted. I mean, one I bought last year, I mentioned in a previous podcast, I bought it for $1 million, refurb one flat and refinanced at 1.8. You know, and I like having my cake and eating it, so I split the titles and then took it to various lenders at the back end and got 80% as well.
Wow.
So I ended up, I think it was all money out plus 342 grand.
Is that so? You bought it you just bought that very well then because he
Bought it very well, but again that came from a trader,
right, okay,
which is interesting.
So he'd already made his margin.
He bought it way cheap. He bought it way cheaper, which is incredible. I think what happened, he had a deal fall through, and then one of my clients, she's really active as well. She's like, I'm in touch with this trader. I think he's not the easiest to deal with, but maybe she's got a knack for him, right?
Yeah.
And then effectively, somebody bailed or whatever, and the guy had to sell it. Presumably had to sell it for another thing he was buying. You know, so again, we were missived in, which means that you've almost exchanged.
Yeah.
If you're in English terms, and I've paid a 10 grand or 20 grand non-refundable deposit. I've paid my client who's a sourcer as well. So you are taking a high degree of risk.
Yeah.
And
but that's the only way you get the
it's the only way you get it done, and that's what enjoying it. And again, it comes back to kind of knowing your stuff and knowing how to get stuff done in terms of the finance as well, because it's even tricky. I mean, for example, that was a 4-week completion. We immediately got vast quotes like instantly, right? And what do you get back? Or you kind of get in for 2 or 3 weeks, and the report's 10 days. So immediately we knew we were fucked. So I asked the other side, like, have you got any sort of VAL report? And they were like, right, okay, there's one done last year. So I managed to convince the lender to use that VAL report.
At 1.8.
So their VAL report was at about 1.55.
Right, but you knew with the refurb.
I refurb. One was totally gobbed. The other ones were largely okay. A wee bit of maintenance, and then obviously refurb that one, and then got a wee bit higher at the back end.
Brilliant.
But again, I wouldn't have got it done in time without that VAL report.
Yeah. Is that the biggest deal you've done then? That one?
No. So I've done several blocks of flats that have been about the million. There was one in 2024, which was the first time I've done it. Which again, I wasn't sleeping when I agreed this one. So basically, it was a block of flats in Stirling. Probably at the time I valued it at 1.6. It's probably worth now maybe 2 million.
Right.
But effectively, I bought it at 980 grand.
Right.
So immediately it came on. Again, even at that stage, usually anything in Stirling I would get first dibs with. But it was a Glasgow agent. So I was like, oh my God. So I didn't really know who
But the property was in Stirling?
Property was in Stirling,
right,
Glasgow
okay.
agent, big commercial agent. But I didn't really know them. So I'm just like Joe Blogs or anyone else getting in touch. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, right, fuck, where's my leverage here? So I started phoning other people I knew in Glasgow, like auction companies and stuff like that. But like, do you know this lot? And I basically found a guy who was, what do you call it? He was the son of the seller's solicitor.
Right, okay.
You know, so that, I was like, do you know? I was like, do you know them? He's like, even better. My dad's a lawyer.
Brilliant.
So that was super helpful. So basically, what he did is he structured a deal where the seller got the price went up loads of that 24 hours, but I knew this thing would sell. You know, I think they'd bought the street effectively really cheap, shops and all that, but I was just buying the residential. So they'd already had huge profit.
Okay.
They had huge profits baked in. I just wanted the residential element, and effectively he structured a deal over a couple of day periods that was effectively he must have got paid at the back end. They would have got paid. Everyone was happy. I wasn't supposed to mention any of that happened, but never 2 years later, should be fine. But effectively that one
Brilliant.
Yeah, so effectively that one was cheap because it was leased to the council on a low rent.
Right, okay.
All right. But then all I thought was like, well, it comes back to the delayed gratification. I was like, right, okay, so I just need to wait 3 years. So 3 years is actually up next year, which by the way, it's been a quick.
There's a lot of people would have been like 3 years, no chance.
No chance. Yeah. So I mean, that's come up quick, and it's all day long. It's probably worth 2 million, 2.1,
Right.
and I only owe 700 grand against it.
Brilliant.
You know, so that again, that was huge. So I've done a series of these. Those two are probably numbers wise the best, and in terms of the biggest, it was just the one that I'm in just now. So that was a £3 million building
Right.
that I bought in November.
Right.
So it's 87 rooms. It's 19 kind of residential HMOs, 4 and 5 bedrooms.
In Glasgow?
In Glasgow.
Right, okay, wow.
Yeah. So again, similar story. Trader bought it, 150 grand non-refundable deposit. The guy in the middle even said to me, he's like, look, I just want to warn you, like, if you don't hit the 4 weeks, you're not getting your deposit back. So he's actually being kind of nice. He's probably thinking he's a young guy.
Yeah.
Thinking like, just like to warn you, like, don't do this unless you're sure. So yeah, long story short, just the usual. Found 150 grand, concluded missives, and then I spent 4 weeks trying to stress how to get 1.2 million. you know, which was tough.
Yeah.
But then because I'd been through it 2 years before, that was the toughest. I think Chris remembers that. I think Chris helped me actually 2 years before. I was just like, I wasn't sleeping for 2 weeks, you know.
But you weren't.
So you knew you've done it before. I knew I could do it again.
You must have been panicking though. How much time did you have left when you got through?
Good question. I think we made it by 2 days.
Was you?
Yeah. Yeah, and do you know when I can't remember what you call it in England, but see if you obviously exchange and then you've got a date, but then you've got a bit of leeway.
Yeah.
Maybe like 10 working days or something.
Yeah.
He'd actually cut the leeway down to 2 working days.
Has he really?
Yeah. So he changed all the contract, the seller. So effectively, it was due to complete the Friday, and I was probably just about ready the Wednesday, Thursday. Do you know what I mean? And then I would have had till the following Tuesday. So yeah, I got it through. But that was obviously a bit of stress. All I felt was I just had to find as much money as possible, even if I overfunded it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it turns out, I mean, I did the right thing because there's maybe about 10 or 15 avenues of getting money, a lot of refinance and stuff like that. Maybe 2 or 3 didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? So in the end, I bought it and I maybe had like 20, 30 grand to spare. Yeah.
So what was the main bottleneck in that 4-week period? Was it the conveyances? Was it?
No, the main bottleneck's money.
Yeah.
Always money.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of getting these deals done, because unless the time is perfect, you're always waiting for refinances. So when I agreed that deal, genuinely, I mean, now I've got 10 grand in my bank. Then I probably had 10 grand in my bank when I agreed a deal. I'm never sitting on cash.
Yeah.
But I knew,
a waste of time. Yeah.
and 100%, and you just get used to not having it. But I knew there was a lot of refinances. I had a portfolio of 8 going through. So effectively, what I did with that is sourced it on.
Right.
And some of them were even sourced on individually.
Right.
You know, so I was able. So that was. So I already knew there was maybe 300 grand going in towards that, and then like I said, a bunch of other refinances. So I just had to. I was paying builders over time to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And then in the end, even things like I bought a shop unencumbered. Managed to get a quite high lease signed on the shop, so I managed to get a small bridging company down south to get me a big loan on that. So it's almost like anything and everything I had. So they're like, I mean, they're probably 150% loan to value on that, which is fine because trust. I've built up a relationship, but you're not gonna get that from a national company, you know. So it's pretty much everything and everything to actually get a deal done. Yeah.
Mate, fair play to you. That's some graft, to be fair, and some handling of the full process. How do you document this when you've got? It sounds like you've got, I don't know how many refinances that you're waiting on.
Yeah.
And then you've got this 150 grand non-refundable deposit that is relying on you getting these refinances. Like, how are you documenting this? Have you got just a simple spreadsheet, or
I just use my brain.
you don't document it?
No, I use my brain. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, and I've got a good brain like that. But the reason it sounds ridiculous is because I thought I could just build a mortgage business with my brain, and I got 9 months in, but no chance. I need systems, I need people. But the property stuff, if I'm being honest, it's enough. There's not too much going on.
Right.
I mean, right now, for example, I've got 35 refurbs on the go, and I mean, different finance applications, individual property wise, you maybe got about 70, but maybe some of them are blocks of flats, so maybe 40 of them,
70 units.
40, 50 of them will be like in blocks of flats.
Yeah,
so
okay.
there might be like a couple of portfolios. But again, that's just everything's in my brain.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, it's not really documented.
Do you
Obviously,
ever get overwhelmed?
not really. No. Not with that. I mean that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I mean it's the only thing's the money. Obviously, not having money, being chased, but. That's the only worry with the property stuff. But apart from that, it's a breeze.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I think probably where you're maybe, I don't know, sleepless nights and all that when you're like busy with the mortgages. Do you know what I mean? You're just yourself. You've got no members of staff, and you're just working around the clock. That's where it's tough until you obviously like a trading, but you build a team and you get people around you. Then it obviously becomes slightly easier. But the property stuff I find it a breeze.
Right.
You know, but bear in mind, buying, I don't know, probably buy over 100 this year comfortably. Last year bought 70 or 80. Really, it's a paperwork and finance game
side of it.
and that's the thing. But because we do that for a living, like that's probably what we're good at. So I'm probably fine.
Do you have someone in your team doing your sort of finance admin?
I used to, but the guys are too busy. Yeah. So I used to, like, at some point, well, here's an application, but yeah, the guys are too busy. So I'm mostly I mostly do my own. Some of the bridging stuff one of the guys does because he does all. I've got one guy that does all the bridging, for example.
Okay.
So it's just he's got processes and everything like that. But a lot of the term loans and stuff like that, I'll kind of do. Yeah. And again, it's just, you know everything, you've got it there.
Yeah, and I guess your CV now, your portfolio, you know, the lenders are obviously looking at that with some comfort now as well. Just the size of it, you've got a lot of equity. You've got, you know, just the headline numbers are massive now.
Yeah,
so
it does.
Clearly know what you're doing.
Does make things easier, and especially you tend to get the same underwriters and stuff like that. The more you do. And again, it's because we do it for a living. If there's any issues, you can really kick up a fuss, you know. So yeah, it does. I mean, it's like anything. And with scale, everything becomes easier. Even with people you're working with.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got some of the best letting agents like really want to work with me because again, you're easy to deal with. You just want to get stuff done, but you're doing volume. The same with project managers and builders. Do you know what I mean? I've got one guy who's got like literally 35 refurbs on the go, and I mean he knows.
But one builder.
One builder.
Is he doing them all?
Aye.
Oh bloody hell!
And by the way, he's doing them all. Can phone me on WhatsApp anytime. He's in Spain fitting a kitchen right now.
Is he really?
Aye, he's just that's just what he does.
Right.
Even for this was great. Even for the valuation of the big building this week, he's in Spain fitting a kitchen. I'm terrible with keys, so the worst thing I can do is turn up and try to show a surveyor a 22,000 square foot building.
God, yeah.
He sent one of his staff members in the compliance business and sent his wife as a letting agent.
Wow.
And she showed them all around.
Brilliant.
And I could just kind of speak to the surveyor and just be passive. So yeah, things like that it's been super helpful. You couldn't do that. Again, you couldn't do that alone. I suppose it comes back to what you were saying in terms of, I don't know, do you ever get overwhelmed? I have got people that kind of go over and above that are working with them in terms of letting agents, builders. So the builder will drop the keys off to the letting agent. I don't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, all we're doing is obviously dealing with the front end and dealing with the lawyers and the purchasing.
Brilliant. And they're going to look after you. The volume that you're giving them, they're going to look after you. You know, you're always going to be their priority, aren't you? So with so much going on, are you a numbers guy? Do you overanalyze, not overanalyze, but do you sit down and analyse each deal, or do you go with your gut on a lot of these deals because a lot of them are similar? Yeah,
a lot of them are similar, so it's mostly gut. Sometimes you'll maybe cross-reference that. Be like, right, okay, like you maybe sit and break down just manually. I mean, I don't have a spreadsheet.
That's why I'm asking.
I think one of those Excel spreadsheets we used to have when we start out, right?
Yeah.
Mine's all fucking fucked now. It's all over the place.
Do you know how many properties you've got?
I think I've got about 170. Right. The only reason I know that is because I've had 170 for the last like 3 months. Right. Actually, no, I bought 8 a few weeks ago, maybe 178. Yeah, but it's been that because I've been waiting for the big refinance to buy. I've got maybe 60, 70 illegals. So I've been waiting for a big one to buy all that, so I kind of know now. But in terms of, sometimes I'll sit and analyse it manually, but you're mostly buying the same stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And again, every deal's different. Do you know what I mean? If you do a deal at all money out plus 342 grand, right? If you then see a deal at Block of Flats, it's really nice, it leaves in 150, maybe you just make a commercial decision. I mean, I'll buy that deal, then I've got another relationship for the agent, I've got another 7 units, keeps momentum.
It's a bigger picture, isn't it?
It's a bigger picture, 100%.
Of course it is, yeah. Do you still buy smaller properties if the deal's good enough?
Kind of. So what I'm doing now is if I own, I hate mutuals, I hate mutual landlords. Fucking pain in the arse, man. I mean, some guy with one buy to let, and he's sending me mad emails on a Friday night telling me he's been cleaning the place all week and I should be grateful.
Oh God.
And it's just, you know what it's like, right? Yeah, so I hate mutuals.
Yeah.
So effectively what I'm trying to do is buy out the buildings I own in.
Right, okay.
So I'm still buying single units. And again, that's usually an easy conversation because usually I know all these landlords and stuff like that. A lot of them are older. A lot of them are retiring, so I'm able to do that. In terms of really good singles, generally I'll just pass them on to clients or source them on. Don't really do that. Usually I've got some clients maybe in the local area that are looking, I'll try to help them out. Failing that, I would usually just send it to someone like Chris to sell it on. And then obviously you just get a bit extra money in that helps pay builders realistically.
Yeah, fair enough. Bit of cash flow, yeah. What's the key then? What's the absolute key to building a portfolio quickly, do you think?
Always focus on the next deal. I think that is the key. Do you know what I mean? I've had meetings of people just wanting some free advice and stuff like that, and they're asking me for a system to pay the council tax. I mean, so I mean that's their question, right?
Oh God!
I think what the fuck? I mean, people think like that because you overcomplicate things. You want this, you want that, and like just think about the next deal. All that stuff doesn't matter. It'll get sorted. Someone will sort that. I mean, so just really think about the next deal. And again, it kind of shows a building that I'm in now, which is one we've talked about. It's obviously quite a big building. Even for me, it's 3 times larger. I mean, numbers wise, it's 3 times bigger than anything I've bought. Probably physical size wise, it's probably maybe similar. But I've not just been, oh my God, I'm so consumed about that. I need to think about it every day. I need to look at it. I need to check it. I need to go visit it. I've not even been out to it. All I'm thinking is, where's the next deal? And suddenly you've got 5 blocks of flats to buy.
Yeah. So literally, as soon as you agree that deal and the solicitors are instructed, it's gone.
Every day I'm like, where's the next one?
Right.
Every day, just when I
suppose that is your role at the end of the day.
Just when I'm speaking to people, But it's almost comes from a habit of agreeing it and enjoying the buzz of agreeing it. But actually, from a business perspective, it's the most important thing.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, it's like getting your next hit, but it's like a drug. Like even at my level, I just love doing the deal. You know, it's just it's just like it's such an adrenaline rush from doing it, especially the bigger commercial stuff. And then I'm looking for that hit again. You know, it's habitual almost, isn't it? It's,
it's the best. I mean, for me, it's the best feeling. And even in the mortgage business, obviously big deals is good to get in through for client, all that kind of stuff. And you, like certain deals, you might make a decent amount of money, or maybe you sell a block of flats and make a decent amount of money. But when you're actually buying something and you know you've bought it really cheap, that's because it's so rare.
Rush.
It's so rare to get something really cheap, and it is a rush. Yeah.
What do you think the main mistakes are that people make when trying to build a portfolio? Other investors.
Main mistakes. Oh, it's very tricky. It probably comes back to what we were saying earlier. Just kind of thinking they know it all. Is one side, but then on the flip side, they might be kind of over analytical.
Yeah.
You know, and I think probably not getting started as well. What I always find ironic is people that are over analytical, they'll sit and analyse for 2 years and then go buy the most complicated deal. And I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, genuinely, I see it all the time where it's like, just go buy a 3-bed semi. Or a 2-bedroom.
Get started.
flat. Yeah, just get started. Buy a 2-bedroom flat. Don't buy something that you're really struggling to actually buy it.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, don't buy something that's like 20 grand. Like just buy something safe and normal and get started.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, you learn while you're doing it, don't you?
Yeah.
But you're right. I've never thought about it, but I've just quickly thought back to a few of my clients, and they are the ones that overanalyze.
Yeah.
They end up buying like ridiculous grade 2 listed commercial lots and try and convert them all. Like it's
we see all this. I need to get some
just randomly.
I need to get some data on this, because obviously because we see so much just from the mortgage business, just with clients and stuff like that, and generally the more analytical ones they'll go analyse themselves to the most complicated. It may be a commercial conversion, it'll be a house above a pub. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can get a house above a pub, you can.
They must just analyse so far and then just snap and be like, fuck it, I'm doing that.
That's the one that's cheap. I don't know. Yeah.
Do you do any development then? Do you do any commercial or resi or anything like that?
I try to stay away from that again, because what I find is our skill set and our evil almost is dealing with the banks and lenders and the solicitors.
Of course it is.
Do you know what I mean? And I think try to deal with planning, councils and all that is a whole extra area.
Yeah.
And I just think, do you know what, that's somebody else's job. Don't get us wrong, there's certain things you get drawn into. I bought a block of flats and I basically wanted to own the restaurant below, because it's just I didn't want some person below me. So I've basically bought that and converted it into 3 or 4 flats. You know, but it's a very kind of small part of the portfolio.
You convert the commercial into 3 or 4 flats.
Yeah. So I thought
resi.
Keeping it for a commercial, but again, it comes back to it's just with the city centre. So planning's no problem.
Yeah.
If someone wants a restaurant, then go to the actual city centre.
Yeah.
But also, if I can get to 3, 4 flats, it's financially it probably won't make too much. It won't really make anything. I'll probably just cover my costs.
Yeah.
But then suddenly I've got a whole block of flats that's at much cheaper rates in 5 years' time. You know, because it's not above an ending.
Do you think you'll go into commercial property? It will always be resi.
I do enjoy the resi. I just think for me it's just more scalable and it's what I'm good at, and you're just used to it, especially these blocks of flats. That being said, I've got a portfolio of commercial units going through right now. So obviously you kind of start by blocks and you start getting shops below, and it kind of gets you into the commercial front. I've also got a guest house that's currently going through as well. Again, it's just usual, it's in Stirling, and it's really cheap. It's a beautiful building. So I thought, do you know what, I'll buy that. I'll maybe make it an office for the finance business, or potentially maybe convert it to flats.
Have you got an office now for the finance business?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So we're in like a service office. We're kind of wanting to get our own kind of space. But again, I'd rather be in the different thing entirely. I'd rather be in the city centre. Just kind of get support to the city centre. It's easy to go out with like everyone else. But I just think if you're in there, there's more people in there. It's all good. But it's actually finding the correct building's tricky. But this one I thought potentially flats, potentially office. Didn't quite fancy it as an office. Flats, I just wouldn't get enough flats out. It didn't work. So I thought, well, I may as well just keep it what it is. It's already in Scotland, Class 7 guest house. So I'm just going to make it like some sort of kind of guest house hotel thing.
Brilliant.
You know, but again, it's a very small part of the portfolio overall.
Because with sticking to resi, any concerns at all about the legislative changes that are coming in, renters reform?
Good question. Overall, no, I would say. The only thing I'm doing slightly different, a lot of my flats are obviously student flats. So I'm starting to diversify, to buy more suburban blocks of flats. The reason being, if suddenly the government are just going to take over, or people really don't want to be landlords, then maybe I can sell it to somebody. Maybe like a young professional or something want to buy that kind of stuff. I
think that there's a lot of the headlines are scary, aren't they? But I think I just said in the last podcast, but I think when we look back in a couple of years' time, we'll just think what was all of us about.
Yeah, and I think as well, specifically on that, in Scotland, a lot of that stuff's been in place.
Of course it has.
For 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
You know, in reality, there's a couple of annoyances, but largely it doesn't make a huge
What effect
difference.
has that had on the market in Scotland?
I mean, sometimes people leave their HMO this time of year rather than leaving summer, for example.
Yeah.
But then there's sometimes so much demand that people are trying to lock in next month anyway.
Right, okay.
Because they don't want to wait till last minute and then be struggling, you know. Obviously, I'm not a letting agent. I'm quite far removed from that aspect.
Yeah.
But that's kind of one thing I've noticed.
Is it the same as what's coming in over here then, where they can move in day one and give 2 months' notice?
Exact same.
Do you see that happening ever?
No, I mean, bearing in mind, when one of the network events, one of the first ever network events, where there's a letting agent speaking about that. So it must have just came in Scotland.
Right, okay.
So it must have been a while ago.
So you've operated mainly within that sort of system
I mean,
anyway?
only within that. And even then, the guy was like, well, we've not really noticed any. From between this year and last year, rental break, we've not really noticed anything.
Right.
Do you know
That's what I mean? So the headlines are scary, they're negative, but...
Aye, it doesn't really make sense, in my opinion, and it is scary, but I think the reality is totally different. You know, I just think there's demand there and somebody else will move in. And ultimately, people don't go to the effort to sign up, move in and all that just to leave.
No, and one of the concerns, one of my immediate concerns was if someone wants a cheap Airbnb for a couple of months, they can sign up, go through, get an AST, and then put the notice in the first day, get it a lot cheaper. But are they really going to go through the admin and the hassle of actually getting an AST? Probably not.
I think it's very minimal. Don't get us wrong; it's tricky with students, right?
Yeah, well, the student market's going to be most affected.
And I think, like, I don't know every place. Maybe there's some cities in England that have got a bit more institutional money. There's a lot more PBSA, and there's a genuine demand issue there.
Yeah,
it's not to obviously get complacent, but in Scotland there's a huge shortage.
Yeah,
even still.
What, in the student market or in the general market?
Yeah. I mean, this year the market's been quieter than the previous, but in general there's still a huge shortage of student beds.
Right. Okay.
You know, so we don't quite have the same issues there, but it's not to be complacent. I think it doesn't mean that won't come in 5 years' time. But again, it's business, isn't it? You basically just reduce the rent. You work a bit harder. You work the leads. Yeah, you adjust.
Like anything. Yeah. No, I'm very much of the same mindset. So, do you get frustrated with the volume and the consistency of the deals that you need to do what you are doing? Do you get frustrated with the deal flow? Or is there always sort of deals coming through?
There's always deals coming through because I don't wait until I'm ready to look for a deal. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's plenty, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of far more sensible people than me. They'll be like, do you know what I mean? I've got a client right now, for example, who's been in property for years. He's just bought a portfolio on a block of flats. And he's like, right, you, and that's me ready to get something else in case you see anything. Really? Right, okay. And he's just bought them or doing the remortgage. But for me, I would have been agreeing stuff the last 6 months and putting it in. So even right now, hopefully there's maybe certain people not listening to this in terms of agents, surveyors and that. But I mean, for example, right now, refinancing the big one, which I've mentioned, and I've got about five-ish portfolios going through. One was agreed in August last year, but we'd always had that agreed that it wouldn't complete to next year. So I always had that in the pipeline. One was agreed in December. Right. One was agreed in November. Supposed to be a January completion. Oh wow! And again, you basically just play the game. Do you know what I mean?
Just delaying those completions.
Delay them, play the game, and it's not like you're always in touch and stuff like that. But you're maybe just keep communication up, keep speaking to them,
and they know you. They know you genuinely. They know you're going to complete eventually. Exactly, because you hit your CV with them.
And by the way, certain ones is just like no chance. You'd pass that on, or maybe then I'd go raise a lot of money to buy that specifically. But there's certain ones where they'd like it done, but not really. You know, maybe a lot of time as well we'll exchange and conclude misses prior. And we'll make it. I'll take the risk. I'll make it unconditional, and that basically kind of cements their security. It means I can't mess about, but also means that any tax issues they've got as well is cemented because unconditional missives.
Brilliant.
You know, so you, again, it's just that all comes with knowledge and experience. You know.
I think a lot of people wait for the comfort of actually having the cash in the bank before they go again. It's silly, really, isn't it? Because everything's so slow in property. You need that continuous pipeline.
Because it's opportunity led. You can't really do that. And also, I've got a lot of footballer clients. I always describe it to them as like, well, you'd rather be 3 or 4-0 up at half time. I mean, you've got all this stuff in legals. It's like a conveyor belt. You're just waiting to get the money to buy it. And it's just like, rather than just be like, oh my God, I've suddenly got money, and then I'm just trying to agree any deal I can.
Exactly. You know? I think that's a mindset shift. I mean, you're obviously extremely shifted over that way, and that's amazing.
I was doing that straight from the bat. I mean, property number 5 I was like, right, I've not got any money now, but I might have money in December. At that point, by the way, property number 5, I seen how slow lawyers would be.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's no point me not taking this deal if I maybe say did have the money, but it went and took 4 months anyway.
Yeah.
So I just played the game then as well.
Yeah, you just agree it, get
I
it
was
secured.
short and then ended up, actually, ironically, I sourced a block of flats and then bloody painted it to get extra money. And that got me an extra 10 or 15 grand before completion.
Yeah.
And again, there's no issues.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, it's not completed. Oh, it's Christmas. Okay, we'll complete January.
Brilliant.
And again, you just, so we've always done that.
Yeah. Superb. So your funding structure, what does that look like now? Are you going to the same lenders, the same bridging lenders? Are you the same angels? Are you constantly looking for better deals, or do you just build relationships?
Good point. Yeah. So right now it's mostly the same because I want certainty of funds. The most important thing to me is certainty of funds.
guess so, yeah.
Because you wouldn't have any of these deals if you didn't have that.
Yeah.
And even the bigger one, when I said I was in time a couple of days before, the reason I was in time is because I refinanced another block and got 500 grand back out. If I didn't have that money because the lender was messing about, I'd be screwed.
Yeah.
So usually, dealing with maybe 3-4 lenders at the back end, similar with the bridging, kind of 3-4 at the front end, some private guys at the front end. But probably what I'll do over the piece is everything's fixed for 5 years. But obviously, when these 5 years start lapsing, that's the point where I'll really start shopping about and try to get myself onto slightly cheaper debt.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Do you pay any debt down? I'm only asking because Chris is doing that quite aggressively.
Yeah. At the minute, no. No, to be frank, yeah. So I've not paid anything down. I'm leveraging at 75% typically. There's been some ones that's maybe that's been bought earlier, so they've went up in value significantly.
Yeah.
So the debt's reduced by that. But
That's the way I do it,
yeah. But again, with these 5 years coming to an end, there's obviously quite a lot there. So if the prices say don't, because it's been a kind of flat year or so, I would say.
Yeah.
Although there was growth the previous year in Scotland. It was probably something I started looking at 18 months prior to the fixes ending.
Yeah.
Just start reviewing that and think, well, wait a minute, the prices are rising, I'm probably okay here. Actually, no, I'll take a bit off.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know?
Yeah, fair play. I mean, you make it all sound very easy, mate, I'll be honest. There must have been some obstacles. What's been the hardest part of the journey, would you say?
It's just all hard. I mean, in general. I mean, the actual process is fine, but actually just...
Have you had a real bad deal fall through and you lost a load of money, or a refurb, a development go wrong, or...
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Probably the biggest thing is just the stress of money, because that's constant, right? Luckily, early on, there wasn't too many frights. I think probably the biggest issue early on was just the work. I mean, you're literally just doing 115 hour weeks, and you're just absolutely gone. Do you know what I mean? Like that was probably the hardest thing. You just felt like, I mean, you're falling asleep at work and stuff like that. After that, once you get going, it was probably the work, probably the money, probably as I've developed, you do take bigger risks. Do you know what I mean? So I've had a couple of things go wrong in the last kind of 18 months. But obviously, you've got other deals that kind of make up for it. Yeah. You've got a business that's doing well that makes up for it. So
I think that cash flow in business is critical, isn't it?
It's huge, yeah. So it's not been overly painful, but it's been painful in the terms of like, well, God, I've just bought a block of flats and I've lost 150 grand.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll tell you about that one. So just literally the month before, I was at a networking event speaking about my one that I bought for $1 million, refinanced at 1.8, and then the guy was like, "You must have had a deal that's went terribly wrong as well." I was sitting there thinking, I didn't want to sound like an arsehole. I was thinking, I can't think it. Do you know what I mean? They've always, I mean, there's been some deals you leave 15, 20 grand in, but it's been fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, it's okay. It's a good deal. But basically after that, I bought a block of flats. Long story short, there's a big roof leak, right? So I thought I needed a new roof. I budgeted for that. What I didn't quite appreciate is every single joist, every single truss, every single wall was like rotten to the core. So basically what we had to do is almost like a full new build development inside of it. And it was really expensive, to be honest. Yeah. So I think roughly I budgeted about 25 grand a flat plus a roof, but it was coming in more like 48, 50 grand a flat. Yeah. And then the roof was probably double what I'd expected.
So you end up leaving 150 in the deal, is it?
I would need to go, I think easily, yeah. Yeah, I would need to go back and check the specific numbers. Yeah. But I certainly didn't make any profit, and I've probably left more in the deal. Yeah. Yeah, much more, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I bought them for 73 grand a flat times 6. It's like 470. Yeah. Spent about $500,000. I think it's worth any more than that. I think I've like actually lost money. So
if that's your worst deal, then you're doing all right.
Yeah, no, I think probably it's maybe I've probably spent 50 grand more than it's worth. Yeah. And I've obviously refinanced it and you leave in your 25%.
You do, yeah. But you've got all those good deals to cushion the blow anyway. Exactly, so at your level now, is anything keeps you awake at night? Is it just the chasing the money? Is that seems to be the recurring sort of stress that you have now is just chasing that money.
In terms of the portfolio, yeah. It's probably just the money, yeah. So even right now, with my builder with 35 refurbs, I'm probably 70 grand a week, and then quite often you're maybe managing 40 or 50. So it's like you're bursting your balls. You're doing an amazing thing. Do you know what I mean? You've got anything that's coming, refinances. I mean, refinance land straight to the builder. Do you know what I mean? Rents come in straight to the builder, but then you're always behind.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's probably the biggest thing. But again, once you refinance, with this one, it's particularly big, so there'll be a big chunk that comes out. So I would say that's probably the main thing. Obviously, you're getting to a stage now where you don't really need to keep going.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you never, even the rent off the portfolio, if you just stop buying, you're never ever going to spend more than that makes per month, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's a slightly different dynamic. But then ultimately, I mean, kind of, what else you going to do? Do you know what I mean? So we'll probably just keep going. And
I'm sure you are, mate. I'm sure you are. It's how much of your success with the property stuff comes from the financial services knowledge and the sort of tricks, knowing the tricks of the trade, if you like. Would you say?
Yeah, it's been. They both help each other. Do you know what I mean? Like you're learning loads of stuff in your day job in the finance business, and then you're relating that to the property business, but equally you're learning stuff in the property business which you can help relate to clients, which helps the finance business. So it's just you're literally just learning from osmosis, and
just
it could
one
be
machine, isn't it?
It could be a trivial thing like, I don't know, what underwriter underwrites certain deals.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It does come down to like the surveyor, that specific thing, and because we're doing so much volume that you do see, and I suppose all your knowledge is up to date.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of investors speak about mortgages and stuff like that. That maybe, again, everyone's got different skill sets. Maybe they've got a particular interest in it, but then you listen to what they say and like everything's 3 months out of date. Do you know what I mean? Because things change literally so much.
Yeah, I bet.
You're thinking that's wrong. It's not like they don't know their stuff.
Yeah.
It's out of date.
Right.
So I suppose you're always up to date. I don't know, client point of view, you met loads of great clients. You learn off these guys, and obviously you do deals with these guys as well.
What do you think investors in general investors misunderstand most about leverage and finance? What are the general misconceptions that you come across?
General misconception. Oh, there's loads. A lot of it's more trivial stuff. People starting out. I mean, if you have a limited company, for example, people are surprised you can get a bank loan.
Yeah.
You know, but ultimately they're underwriting you plus the property.
That's the
They're not really
deal.
interested. They view it as a tax wrapper.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. But then on the flip side, I suppose the other big one is probably interest rate. I mean, probably the least important thing is the interest rate, I would say. Yeah, a lot of people are kind of
fixated on it.
Oh, fixated on it.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I had a guy who came to me, even the more experienced people, 20 or 30 flats. He's like, right, I really want to scale and all that. Invoice him 150. He's got an issue with paying £150 up front. I was like, right, you want to scale, but you got an issue. Like, that's just polar opposite things. And again, he's nitpicking. And I basically says, like, we'll go this. Here's a cheap option. Here's slightly more expensive, but it'll be. I mean, you're talking 2 or 3 bips between them, right?
Yeah.
This will be much easier. He goes, nah, I don't like any of them. And he's like, right, okay, you go back shopping, right? You find the absolute cheapest lender. 3 weeks later, they decline because he's got too much on his credit cards.
Yeah. Oh god.
You know, so I think that is insanity. And look, it does cost people money, especially what scale. Don't get us wrong. If you're a doctor, you want to pay market value, get 1 or 2 a year. Yeah, potentially go for the cheapest rate, right? But if you actually want to scale, do it like a lot of your guests have done.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Yeah. Don't be fixated on interest rates. You know, and like you can learn the easy way or learn the hard way. But I'm much rather clients learn the easy way.
Yeah.
You learn the hard way, but basically you're 6 months in, you've still not got your money out.
Yeah.
I got a client right now, for example. It's with Aldermore. They're absolutely terrible to deal with. They're a great product, but just terrible process. Everything takes forever, but they've got a good product. They're quite cheap.
Yeah.
Right, you're basically 4 months in, you've still not got anything actually through, and effectively now he's bridging the next deal. Do you know what I mean? But then it's not just what people don't really realise. It's not just the fact that you're bridging and then he could have, if he had a quick lender, he would have bought that in December.
Yeah.
And he would have bought the other deal in March.
It's false
and then
economy,
you buy another deal off the guy, and then he gives you another deal, and you buy that in May.
Yeah.
It's huge, yeah.
Yeah. And you're obviously advising them to go the other way.
Yeah. So a lot of the regular clients is like, they tell you, I'm going there because it's fast. You've just got an understanding.
Yeah,
Kind
you
of.
just put it in place
So it takes that trust. It's probably kind of newer clients when they're kind of building up the trust. You maybe give them a few options. And like again, it comes back. You can learn the easy way or the hard way. I've had so many clients who've been like that, and then after doing 6 or 7 deals, they're like, don't fucking do that again. Like just go there, and then they'll just use the faster lenders. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Makes sense. So your business. Would you say your business is your main focus, or the property is your main focus? What does a typical day look like for you now?
Yeah, I'd say probably the business is the main focus, just because you spend the most time on it, right? It takes up probably most of your mind space. The property stuff although is a decent degree just with the volume of the buying.
Yeah.
So I'd say probably my days, maybe, I don't know, maybe 70% doing the finance stuff, you know.
Yeah. And how many's in that team?
So we've got a team of 6 plus myself.
Right.
You know, we've got a couple of guys, maybe even 3 people that are like working quite long hours as well. It's not just your typical 9 to 5 kind of thing, you know. We've got another broker.
Like commission based types?
Recently, but even admins that are doing extra.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, doing longer hours, so it's like you can say we've got 6 people, but you kind of know in reality it's probably more like a business of 10 or 12.
Obviously, more than happy to do that because they're getting rewarded for it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
rare to find people like that now, I think.
For sure. Yeah, I mean that's what we're kind of struggling with now.
Yeah.
In terms of like growing, we could probably grow an extra 30-40%, but it's like it's getting the right people in next, because if you get the wrong people, then it takes up everyone's time again.
Of course it does.
So it's almost like a skill. But that's probably coming back to what takes up your time. I mean, that's probably one big thing now.
Yeah.
Actually try to look to
recruitment.
Try to get decent.
Yeah,
people.
I mean, it's the most difficult thing. Every business owner I speak to, it's the most difficult thing.
Yeah,
it's, it's
you really don't want to make a mistake as well.
No, exactly. It's costly, isn't it?
Really costly, especially when your guys are busy anyway. But I mean, one of my staff members, he's got about 25 flats himself.
Right. Oh, brilliant.
Do you know what I mean? So he's a guy that does a lot of the bridging, but again, software engineer background, been in property, understands it all, does a lot of the bridging, but again, because they're amazing with computers as well, things can get processed fast, things can be fixed fast. He runs all the accounts and invoices.
Yeah.
And like he's got an assistant as well.
Brilliant.
So he's hired an assistant. He's like, could you pay that? I was like, fine.
Yeah. So you got a team of grafters then, basically.
Yeah.
Are they all based in Stirling then?
Yes, we've got an office in Stirling, where myself, a partner, is in the business. She's my first employee. We're sometimes abroad, sometimes in Stirling, and then obviously got 3 others in the office as well. Yeah, and we've got Robert, who manages the office effectively. Yeah, and Ralph is the software engineer. Given he's a software engineer, he's in his mother's basement. Yeah, he's with about 6
covered in Cheetos.
With about 6 screens, you know. Yeah. He's just like doing his thing. Yeah, he's kind of like, I mean, dialed in, focused. Yeah, so he does his own thing. Yeah, you're the best off left. Those type of people. Yeah, 100%, for sure. So you spend a bit of time in Dubai. You make some good connections over there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so been kind of over there back and forward in the last year, and made some really good connections, to be honest. Yeah. There's obviously a lot of Scottish people out there. Yeah. Clients as well. I find you have clients on holiday every other week, you know. So yeah, it's been really good. There's obviously a bit of a lifestyle change. You miss some things, you don't miss others. Like, I mean, there's pros and cons to both. Yeah. So I don't think it's like the panacea, but one big thing that's been helpful is the 4-hour time difference. Yeah, for sure. You know, ahead of the game. Your phone starts going really heavily first thing in the morning, but you're ahead of the game. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I went to Bali in November for three weeks. I'd laptop out every day, but I had everything done I need to do that day before they even got up. Yeah, so my team were coming in and they didn't need to call me for anything. It's a great feeling. Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant. It's worse when you go to the US though and you're behind. Yeah. Oh, horrendous. Yeah. I don't want to do that. Last few questions, Ewan, because I've taken enough of your time, mate. But if you lost everything tomorrow, what would you do for the next 12 months to rebuild, given what you know now? I would probably just do the exact same thing. You know, if I'm honest, I would probably just probably do the finance again, just because you know it. Probably deal-wise, I'd probably start sourcing. Probably source more heavily initially. Just for that cash flow. Just to get more cash in, just get more deals done, because obviously if you're starting again, you've maybe not got any money. Yeah. To any one time, I'm refinancing 20, 30 properties, so there's always a chunk coming in, going back out. So starting again, I would just do the exact same thing and probably spend more time sourcing. Yeah. You know, it's something that probably gets a bad rep. But I think it does, yeah. Me and Chris were talking about this yesterday, and I think it does. There's some great sources out there. 100%. Yeah, but again, it comes with time. It's just people think it's probably a shame because it's sold that way by educators. Yeah. But ultimately, if you know nothing, and like property's simple, so you might think you know it, but you really don't. Yeah. So you're kind of coming in this thing, and you will make mistakes, but once you're up and running, you know your stuff, then it's a great way. You know, it's a great service. What it is, yeah. I mean, I told you the 3 blocks I bought in Glasgow, I bought them all off sourcers. Yeah. One of my clients is a full-time landlord, right? So this is all he does, all over the expenses, all over everything. Buys in volume every single year, but he's got no other business, nothing. But I asked him, because he buys off sourcers. I asked him, like, how come you just don't buy off agents? You always used to. And he goes, it was just a pain in the arse. You're dealing with somebody in the office and they have no idea what's going on. You go to a viewing, they don't fucking turn up. You go to a viewing, and I think it's like a Sunday in summer, and nobody turns up.
It's all time, isn't it?
It's time for him. Yeah, he'd rather just go pay somebody 3 or 4 grand.
100%.
Yeah.
And a sourcer generally, that they're a property investor themselves as well. A lot of sources are just funding their investments, so they're property people, so they understand, how important it is to turn up for a viewing, how important it is to push on the conveyancing process, etc. So there's a lot of very good sources out there, but they do get a bad name. It's but I only trust sort of 3 or 4 of them in the northeast, but they're brilliant at what they do.
Yeah,
So
sure. I think there's loads and. There's loads, yeah. A lot of clients do this, and I think there's loads, and it's just one of those. I think, the social media and stuff like that, people jump to the bandwagon and stuff like that. But in reality, there's so much deals been done, and it's been going on forever.
Of course, it is. Just got a label now, isn't it? So, what are your business and property goals for the next 3 years? Where do you see yourself? I
don't set specific goals. I think I was on another podcast and I said if we can maybe double each year. But
both the business and the portfolio.
Both the business and the portfolio. The portfolio is slightly easier because it is really it's largely just a numbers game. Do you know what I mean? You've got letting agents dealing with everything. You've got the builder.
You've got a good system.
You've got the builder and everything. It is a fairly passive business.
Yeah.
Probably one key target there is to really get somebody who's very capable to sit in between me and the letting agents and the builders.
Right.
Because ultimately
like a project manager almost.
Yeah, maybe some sort of portfolio manager, somebody that can be the liaison of everything.
Yeah.
Because effectively, the guys are busy enough without doing the job. Obviously, if they're helping out to do, I'm not doing it, I'm busy with the mortgages. But if they're helping out to do certain things, then it's taking them away from their core job as well. Yeah,
because even though you're letting agents taking care of your properties very well by the sounds of it, there's still communication there to be had between you and the let. That has to be, doesn't there?
For sure. And by the way, there's big things that creep. I mean, there's things that I should be doing that I'm not. But again, you've got trust. You are checking your bank every month and all that. You know you're not being done over. But even following up, even checking every rental statement, checking maintenance, because people make mistakes. So I want someone to really come in and just be all over that stuff. So they'll just take out costs in the portfolio, not be like aggressive and all over these people that you're working with, but just make sure there's no mistakes we made effectively. And then I suppose other things as well. You start getting to a portfolio of a size, people in touch like councils. There's asset managers in touch in terms of people that you've maybe got. They maybe own the retail below, and you've got the uppers. There've all these other people that kind of come into play. And really, I don't want to be speaking to these people. I just want to be kind of focusing the finance business, getting more clients in, getting stuff funded. So that's one big goal in the portfolio. With the finance business, it's just about getting more people, effectively. Yeah.
More recruiting more people.
Recruiting more people, but more importantly, recruiting the right people. I would say,
exactly.
Yeah,
it's a costly process. Unfortunately, a lot of the time you have to give people a go. If they interview well, you've got to give them a go and see if they perform.
I think that's probably where we're getting to. I think we've had a conversation with the guys. I think you probably just need to take chances, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and you just unfortunately ask them to leave and go on to the next one, don't you? So, but what's the you've so much going on, mate. I mean, £25 million worth of property already. Is there an end goal? Do you even think about it? Do you either sit and plan? Or?
No, I don't think there's an end goal. I mean, I'm 28, right? So it's like
that's why it's such a strange question to ask you. But what is the dream?
I think I'm probably almost already doing the dream without sounding kind of too cheesy.
At least you're aware of that.
I mean, look, well, else we want. We've got a nice house. Still not actually bought a car yet, but I'm not really a big car guy anyway. And look, we've got a place in Dubai as well. You're buying lots of property, you're buying lots of deals, you're helping clients. Do you know what I mean? You've got over the stage in business. So don't get us wrong, you're busy. You're working 10, 14, 15 hours a week, hours a day, but you're not like losing sleep over it, if that makes sense, because you've got people around you and teams.
Take the pressure off.
So I think there's not really necessarily a set goal. I think probably naturally that you like to get to the business to a stage where you're maybe slightly more working on the business, which is obviously everyone's goal. But again, it's tricky when you can't get the right people, because obviously with what I know, I'm actually at the stage now, I think I should maybe be more involved. I think that's the best thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, somewhat, so maybe you get to a stage there, but maybe there'll be a throw-off business as well in the future.
I just can't imagine you sort of retiring, for want of a better word. I can't imagine you just switching off and going sitting on a beach. I think you'd be climbing the walls.
I don't think I could. No, well, even in Dubai, our first year, we had an apartment with a private beach. Just looking right over the palm, and I didn't go to the beach once.
On your laptop.
I've looked at it. Yeah, I went to the coffee shop on a laptop all day. I don't think I could. I mean, I don't know. Even things like holidays, for example, I've not really took any holidays at all. But I'm probably at the stage now I can. So even things like see if I just took 4 weeks off a year, genuinely off and spent time with the missus and that, with family, not brought my phone, I could probably do that now.
Yeah.
And
That's good. I think it's important eventually to...
That would feel like retirement.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was... Do you know what I mean? That would genuinely... Because you've just never had that.
Yeah.
But in terms of actually thinking, like, I'm not going to do anything, I don't think I could. I mean, sometimes you think, why am I doing this? What's the point? But then, you have a quiet few days and you think the world's ending.
Yeah,
I mean, I was ill.
I'm the same.
I was ill in January in bed, right? And I didn't really do anything for 4 days. And it wasn't because I'm ill. I thought, God, the world's ended. You know what I mean? There's nothing going on.
Yeah.
You know?
I know, I'm the same. I don't react very well to downtime. Like I say, I went to Bali in November and it was great for 3-4 days, and then let's just start looking for stuff to do on my laptop, checking in with the team when I didn't need to.
Yeah.
Just need to be active. Need to have a purpose, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. And like, it doesn't mean that's for everyone. I mean, everyone's different, and maybe people change. You know, I do respect people that might, they want 20 properties and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know other people, they're almost like, I know people my age, they're almost like retired, or maybe a bit older. They've got like 10, 20 properties, you know, but it's not for me.
No, in for a penny, in for a pound. Last question, mate. If you were starting off today in 2026, what would your best bit of advice be to a new investor starting out?
Best bit of advice. So just remember, there's tons of information out there. And you might think you know all, you listen to a podcast, but you really don't.
No.
So again, just stay humble. Just try to get around the right people. Try to get around people that are doing deals, and then ultimately just look for angles. Just look for value. Some sort of arbitrage. You know, it takes time. Like you really need to get to know your market. Early days, I knew I had to get to know my market, because when I was buying and selling clothes, I knew the prices of everything. Yeah. And I just thought, well, this is the same with property. I need to learn the prices. So I would do that, and then just look, kind of work out what you actually want to achieve out of it. Yeah. Everyone's got different ideas, different strategies. If you can get some sort of cash flow and business out of it, then great. Yeah. But yeah, I think probably the big opportunity right now is probably we spoke about older people selling up.
100%.
I think that's the opportunity. I think some of the, don't get us wrong, the people will make it work, but some of the ground up stuff, the development stuff is a little bit kind of scary right now. There's a lot of kind of proper operators that are struggling.
Yeah, material costs are just ridiculous.
Aye, I know, and it's like
the planning departments are a joke.
Aye, literally, yeah. So I think probably the big opportunity is discounted single units, portfolios. You know, maybe old guest houses that you can kind of turn into
baby boomers selling up. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah,
mate. Absolutely fascinating. I'm blown away by the journey. It's incredible, mate. What's fair play to you? I mean, absolute grafter. And I can't even imagine where you'll be in 3. I asked you that question, but I can't even imagine where you'll be in 3 years' time. Yeah. Hopefully, get you back on the podcast, mate, when you've got about a million properties. Yeah. But thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate you coming down.
No.
And go for a bit bite to eat with Chris tonight, and keep the chat going. But there you go. That's how you build a £25 million property portfolio. Sounds easy, doesn't it? If you've enjoyed today's podcast, please share, subscribe. Until next time, take care.